On a bitterly cold morning, when the streets were nearly deserted and frost clung stubbornly to the windows of small shops, a woman stood trembling outside a little bakery at the corner of Maple Street. Her hair was messy, her clothes were worn and frayed, and her eyes carried the silent heaviness of years of struggle. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, and her body screamed for warmth and food. Gathering what little strength she had left, she raised her shaking hand and knocked softly on the bakery door. For a moment, silence answered her. Then, the sound of footsteps echoed from inside, and with it, her heart raced between fear and hope. Would someone open? Would she be turned away once again, as she had been countless times before? That single knock held the weight of her desperation, the last flicker of her courage, and perhaps, the beginning of something she could not yet imagine. Sparkles if you believe in kindness, in giving second chances, and in the small miracles that restore faith in humanity. Please like this video, share it with others, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Every gesture of yours helps spread stories of hope and love in a world that needs them more than ever. Sparkles. Inside, the bakery smelled of fresh bread and cinnamon rolls, the kind of scent that could make any passerby's heart grow lighter. The owner, a middle-aged man named Daniel, was just preparing for the morning rush. He had seen many faces over the years, customers in joy, children with coins tightly clutched, workers stopping by for coffee, but the face that greeted him when he opened the door that day was unlike any other. The woman's eyes lowered in shame as she whispered her request. She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't asking for a handout. All she asked was if he had any bread that was too old to sell, anything he might throw away, so she could ease the hunger clawing at her stomach. Her voice cracked with the weight of humility, and in that moment, Daniel saw not just a homeless woman but a human being stripped down to her last ounce of dignity. Daniel hesitated only for a second. Memories flashed in his mind of his own childhood, growing up in a family that often struggled to make ends meet. He remembered the sting of empty plates and the way kindness from strangers had once helped his family survive. Without saying a word, he stepped aside and gently invited her inside. The warmth of the bakery wrapped around her like a blanket, and tears welled in her eyes. She hadn't felt this kind of warmth in months. Daniel guided her to a small wooden chair in the corner and placed a steaming cup of coffee in front of her. Soon, a plate arrived with fresh bread, a croissant, and a slice of cake. She tried to resist at first, ashamed to accept so much, but the kindness in Daniel's eyes broke through her defenses. She ate slowly at first, then with urgency, as though every bite was a fight for life itself. Her name, she later shared, was Evelyn. Once upon a time, she had a life not so different from others. She had a job at a bookstore, a modest apartment, and dreams of one day opening a place of her own. But life, unpredictable and cruel, had stolen those dreams piece by piece. First came the illness that drained her savings, then the loss of her job, and finally, the eviction that left her on the streets. With no family nearby and no safety net, she had spiraled into homelessness. Each day became a battle to survive, and each night was filled with fear. Daniel listened quietly as she spoke, his heart aching with every detail. Many people walked past Evelyn every day, judging her, dismissing her, or pretending she didn't exist. But here she was, a woman who once had dreams, dignity, and strength, now reduced to knocking on doors just to survive. And in that moment, Daniel made a decision that would change both of their lives. Instead of sending her away after her meal, he offered her something more, work. It wasn't much, just helping with cleaning tables, organizing supplies, and small tasks around the bakery. But it was an opportunity, a chance to regain a piece of stability, a sense of worth, and maybe, a new beginning. Evelyn's eyes widened in disbelief. Her hands shook as she tried to respond, but tears fell faster than her words. She hadn't been trusted with a responsibility in years, hadn't been seen as capable or worthy. Yet here was someone who believed she deserved another chance. From that day onward, Evelyn became part of the bakery's quiet rhythm. She worked diligently, often staying longer than expected, pouring her soul into every task. At first, customers looked at her with suspicion, whispering about her past. But Daniel stood firmly by her side, introducing her warmly to everyone as part of his team. Over time, people began to see what he saw, a kind, hard-working woman who had simply fallen on hard times. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Evelyn's face began to glow with life again. Her clothes changed from tattered rags to clean outfits that Daniel and a few kind customers had gifted her. Her steps grew firmer, her eyes brighter. Slowly, she started saving the small wages she earned. And even though the journey was still hard, hope blossomed in her heart again. The bakery itself began to feel different, too. It wasn't just a place to buy bread anymore, it became a place where kindness was baked into every loaf. Customers noticed the atmosphere, the warmth that extended beyond the ovens. People began coming not only for pastries but for the feeling of humanity that lingered in the air. Some even brought donations of clothes, food, and supplies for others in need, inspired by Daniel's compassion and Evelyn's story. One winter morning, nearly a year after that first knock, Evelyn stood once again outside the bakery door. But this time, she wasn't trembling with hunger or shame. She was dressed neatly, holding a small envelope in her hand. When Daniel opened the door, she smiled with tears of gratitude and handed him the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter and the first set of savings she had put aside to begin rebuilding her life. She thanked him for seeing her not as a burden, but as a person. For giving her a chance when the world had turned away. Daniel hugged her tightly, overwhelmed by the transformation he had witnessed. He realized that sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can create ripples that reach far beyond what we can imagine. Evelyn's life had been restored, not just because of bread or shelter, but because someone chose to believe in her humanity. And so, the story of a homeless woman who knocked on a bakery door became a story that spread far and wide. It became a reminder that behind every struggling face lies a story untold, a heart that still beats, and a hope that still longs to be reignited. Sparkles, if this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps keep these powerful stories alive, reminding the world of the beauty of compassion. Sparkles. Speech balloon. Before we close, we'd love to hear from you. What's the kindest act you've ever witnessed, or received, in your life? Please share your story in the comments below. You never know who might be inspired by your words. Speech balloon. In the end, Evelyn's journey wasn't just about finding food or work. It was about rediscovering her worth, her dignity, and her hope. And Daniel's kindness wasn't just about helping one person, it lit a spark that spread through the whole community, proving that humanity's greatest strength lies in compassion. So the next time you pass someone in need, remember Evelyn. Remember the bakery door. And remember that sometimes, one simple knock can open not just a door, but a future.